Dr. Love, you are live.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Love Show. I'm Gabi Love, a matchmaker and love coach based here in New York City. This series of shows came upon when my investor mentors told me that it was time to start branding the Dr. Love name. I'm currently working towards my PhD, and my focus is marital satisfaction and personality types. Tonight, I'm happy to announce this will be our first episode, which will be aired in New York City. I'd like to thank you, our viewers, my producer, Cooj, Tony Vasquez of the Tony V. CNET Show, and producer Michael Gecht for all our success. Let's launch off Rockstar Dating with a quote from Theory Browers, who said, "A perfect relationship is when two non-perfect people empower each other to better themselves for one another and for the world around them." Yet, my response to Professor Theory Browers is that no matter how much in love a couple is, no one ever wakes up and finds themselves in a perfect relationship. A rock star relationship takes intention, focus, and follow through. But I say it is possible. I call the perfect relationship rockstar relationship. This episode will dissect rockstar dating, and our next episode we will dissect rockstar marriage. Three things seem to be consistent in most relationships. Number one, people tend to date up to their level of self-esteem and not above. However, I will add that we are defying this fact with my matchmaking for my male clients, who consistently tell me that I'm introducing them to women who have always been out of their league previously. This has been great love news to my ears. Number two, people ultimately attract what they think they deserve and no more. And that's where my love coaching comes in raising our expectations of ourselves in love and hence creating it from our partners. And number three, rock star relationships require more than just love. They require intention, know-how, and practice. This episode focuses on sharpening your loving skill set, dating attitudes, strategies, and techniques. For this episode, I am bringing on my expert speakers of my Next Love workshop in Los Angeles, all of whom I call Empowered Femmes. This includes Erica Angelo, who is a dating coach for single men looking for love in Los Angeles. My next guest expert is Heather Dawn, who is a yoga meditation teacher and a life coach based in Beverly Hills. Also, we have Kim Caldwell, an interior designer who works with psychological design techniques to help you manifest and maintain a healthy, passionate relationship through your home. Thank you, Erica, Heather, and Kim for being here live with us tonight. I'd also like, thank you. I'd also like to thank my co-host and director, Cooj, a producer and empowerment educator based in Orlando, Florida. So, Erica, let me ask you, what are your three most important attitudes, strategies, or techniques for rockstar dating?
So the first one is huge, and it's everything, and it's this. It's understand your value for yourself first. I think a lot of times when I'm working with single men, it's always like, there's so much value and emphasis on the woman. Like, oh, she's this and she's this. And then when I turn the tables and I say, well, what about you? What do you bring to the table? Oh, well, I don't know what I bring to the table. Well, that's a huge problem, and that's going to create a lot of disaster for you in the future. And I think it's a prominent problem, not just for men only, but for women as well. We're a society where we don't understand our value. We're very quick to tell you what's wrong with us, where we need to grow, where we need to self-improve. But if I come up to someone and I say, hey, what makes you valuable? It makes them uncomfortable. But really, when I ask a person, what is your value? What makes you valuable? You should be able to just say right away, this is what makes me valuable. The other things are these. Be flexible in your dating, or you're going to be left behind. And the other is anything motivated by love, that of fear, it's going to sabotage all of your efforts.
Totally agree with that.
Really great. I would say I agree with you, Erica, especially about the fear part. I can't tell you how many times I got out on a date, and it's the first or second or third date, and you hear, and then my ex did this to me, and then this happened, and then they spent all this money, and I'm really nervous now, and I just want to, and I'm like, check, thank you. I mean, as soon as I start hearing like bucket of fears coming up, especially within those first few dates, I'm like, wow, this person is looking for someone to fill in a gaping hole that was left by their ex, and I don't want to fill in your hole, right? Not in that way anyway, right? I don't want to fill that hole in.
Yeah, this is what I always tell people. I say, listen, you're going out and you're trying to find love, but when you're coming from a place of fear, those two energy fields do not work together. Either you partner with love and you go, I'm going to do it this way, or you partner with fear. But the two do not blend together at all whatsoever. And so when you're afraid of being hurt, and you're afraid of someone taking advantage of you and someone not measuring up to you, all these elements of fear, what they do is they just really keep love at bay. And so when I listen to certain people and they go, I don't know why I'm still single, but then you hear all this fear that comes out of them of, you know, if they don't do this, then I'm not going to do that. And you just hear all these stories, and it's like, and that's why you're single. And that's why you're not finding love, because you're so partnered with fear that love has no voice and no room for you in your life.
I have been on those tit-for-tat relationships. If you do this, I'll do this. Well, I think that's like how kids talk, right?
Right.
I mean, the tit-for-tat stuff is just not great, and it's not successful. And I don't want to hear, you know, grown men talking about, well, because I'm nervous, if you do this, then I'll do this. If you do this, I'll do this. It's like, is this a business transaction, or are we looking to date?
Well, and let me say this. How sexy is it for a person who shows up on a date and they really love themselves and they really value themselves? I mean, think about showing up on a date with someone and they're like, you know what, I'm really comfortable in my skin. This is what I'm really good at. You know, I'm really great at this, and I really value this about myself. And one thing that I've worked really hard on is this, and now I have this as a result. When someone comes from that place of, like, confidence and they love themselves and they value themselves, there's so much more sex appeal that oozes from a person like that than a person who's just like, I'm afraid of everything and anything. It's just like, it's a big turnoff. It's a red flag.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Heather, let's ask you.
Yeah.
How can a person create a rock star sex life while dating, you know, or being in a relationship?
I just want to say, Gabby, I'm grinning because I'm so thrilled that you asked me a question about sex, as you well know. One of my favorite topics. So.
You are my sex coach, as far as I'm concerned. Heather is my go-to sex coach, absolutely. So you have to teach us today. I mean,
you know, I actually
create a rock star sex life.
Yeah. I love the topic of sex because sex is kind of like food. It's one of those things that everybody wants to do because it usually will, 98% of the time, unless you have traumas, provide pleasure. And who's not chasing pleasure, right? But that being said, I think to create a rock star sex life, one of the most important things to do is ask questions. And I'm not talking about like a homicide detective asking questions or, you know, like your eye doctor, like this or like this. Do you like it like this or like this? You know, how you ask questions is really important. You know, people will constantly be like, in my life coaching sessions, I'll have clients coming up talking about, oh, I know what I'm looking for. I know exactly what I want in a guy, or I know what I want in a girl. And they need to have these qualities. But then suddenly, when it comes to sex or sexual pleasure, it's like everybody has to be a master psychic. Everybody stops talking. Nobody's asking questions. And we all need to predict. And I can't tell you how many times, well, you know, I'm on this first date and he just grabbed my boob. I couldn't believe it. He grabbed my boob. And I was like, well, did you say anything? no, he should know. And I was like, oh, so he needs to be a psychic now. That's interesting. So you can add that to your list. So ask questions and integrate those questions into your foreplay and your flirtatiousness and your fun. Like, be sexy with your questions. Don't grill someone. Don't be an inquisitor. And stop playing these like psychic guessing games. Communicate. Really important.
Yes, I always preach that. Do not expect your partner to be a mind reader. It's so not sexy. It just turns off everyone. And it's amazing to me how many people really do expect their partner to just be a mind reader. And
Yes.
I go through the same thing. Well, did you ask him or did you ask her? So I agree.
Very much so. The second thing that I'm going to say is really, really important is know your body, know your mind. Now, yes, of course, when I say know your body, I am talking about masturbation. There's another thing nobody likes to talk about or admit, and yet we all do it, and it's fine. You don't have to make an announcement about it. It doesn't have to go on Instagram. I'm not looking for a Facebook post. But if you know how to pleasure yourself, you'll be able to then communicate how you like to be touched, whether you're looking to get off or just looking to be touched and feel good. And also, if you know how you like to be touched, odds are somebody else is going to want to be touched in a very similar way. So the more you know your body, at least from that angle, you know, you'll also be able to know somebody else's body. And it's not just masturbation I'm talking about. Things like massage, you know, some people like rough massages, some people want to barely be touched. You know, tantra exercises, exercise, by the way. You know, sex is a physical activity as much as it is a mental activity, right? So nobody wants someone who's just going to lay there. You know, I think they call it a dead lay is the Urban Dictionary term, you know. They just lay there. You know, I mean, outside of someone who's into, you know, being with dead people, you know, you want to have a little stamina to your body, so you've got to move around. You don't have to be a fitness pro, but you should have some sense of health and understand how your body works. Because if you're tired and fatigued, not feeling good, you're going to be bad in bed because you're going to be too pooped. It takes physical and mental energy. And then also know your fantasy, know your mind. Are you the person that reads 50 Shades of Grey and is like, oh my God, I just whacked off 50 times? Or are you the person that's watching porn? Do you find The Princess Bride? Eric and I were making a joke about that before the show there. And that's your sexual fantasy. I don't know. But know your mind, know your body, because that's going to only enhance your Rockstar sex life. Really important. Any comments on that, ladies?
Was that three? Was that three?
No. Three would be, the third would finally be, be willing to get out of your comfort zone. Okay? I can't stress that enough. You know, half of the stuff that you like today isn't based on something you've already experienced. It's because somebody said, you should try this food, or you should really try going to this place, or you should try that travel, or, you know, you might look better in these clothes. And then it's like, whoa, you know, you're right. This does look amazing. Be willing to get out of your comfort zone. Why? You can always go back to what you liked. All the sexual pleasures and things that you did are really great. But who knows? Maybe, you know, getting off in, you know, an alleyway somewhere behind the restaurant and sneaking where you'd be like, no, 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 no. Maybe that suddenly becomes a yes for you. You won't know unless you're willing to get out of your comfort zone. And that gets back to fear, like Erica was talking about, and it also means getting to know your mind and being a little bit flexible.
Well,
I think that I was just going to say, you know, I always tell people this too. It's like when you're talking about knowing your body, I always ask people, like, how often do you touch yourself? Like, and I don't mean just like masturbation, but just like touching yourself and connecting with love in yourself. Like, my friends will make fun of me because I'll be out to dinner and I'll just start rubbing myself. And I love touch. So guess what? If I love touch, I'm going to give myself touch. And then sometimes I'll just squeeze myself or kiss myself and go, I just love you so damn much. Why are you so damn cute, Erica? And you really do have to connect with your own body. You can't just show up to someone and go, hey, I want to be loved. And then it's like, well, how much love are you giving you? Oh, well, I don't touch myself at all. Well, that's a lot of pressure to put on someone else if you're not even willing to give it to yourself.
Yeah, and I bet you get a lot of men really happy to just hug you and
I get lots of hugs. It's very interesting.
that way. You know, what we give ourselves, we will really receive.
Yes.
I'm going to start doing that with myself and kissing my own arms. And I haven't quite done that one yet, but I like it. I'm sure it happens. Interestingly enough, too, Heather, is what I approached you for is this exact topic. Last week on Friday night, I spoke at the Trump Towers, and I called that lecture Sexy Love Talk. And what I had approached you for is the fact that my boyfriend is a level 1, which I call hot and dirty in the Sexy Love Talk department. And my verbal cues in the Sexy Love Talk department are what I call level 2, which I call hot and sexy. And level 3 are your people that stay in the hot and coy in the area of Sexy Love Talk. And I myself, being a level 2, needed my own coaching from Heather in some tactics of learning some level 1 talk. So those of you that attended the workshop last week at the Trump Towers, I did break it down to level 1, 2, and 3. So I think it's important, part of the communication, to figure out what level you are and figure out what level your partner is and cater to that, because most of us want to keep our partners happy in the sex department. And if it takes a little bit of coaching to getting yourself more comfortable, or like Heather said, in the area 3 of trying something different or unfamiliar, then it's important to do so. I also believe as a rock star partner, it benefits us to figure out the level of our partner and cater to it. And after all, what are great partners for? So let's check further with Kim now. Kim, I know you had clients who have taken from painful transitional times in their lives to helping them manifest lifelong relationships. How do you use your interior design practice to help your clients manifest a relationship?
I think you're probably all wondering, what is an interior designer doing in this crew? And it seems like a far-fetched idea, but I use the environment to trigger all the things that all of you are talking about. Every human being has had a pattern in their relationship. Some human beings pick the wrong people. Some it's an issue where they keep themselves in a protective state, and they have an issue with really allowing themselves to be intimate with another person. Not just sexually, but romantically, or even allowing someone to come in. Some clients who want a relationship and who have been single for years, I actually find are some of the most protected and guarded in terms of really allowing someone to feeling safe to allow someone to come in. So with me, I can read usually where someone is in terms of their relationship with their self just by being in their house. I'm trained in a technique called design psychology, and essentially it's looking at the space and how our internal life has manifested physically in our home, in the way that we've been naturally inclined to set things up, in the way that we are surrounding ourselves with different messages. I always say what you see is what you believe, and what you believe is what you manifest. So you can read a lot about a person just by how they've naturally been inclined to set up their floor plan, set up even their decorative items, the types of things that they have. One example that comes to mind is one of my favorite clients. She, when I met her, had just been widowed. She had actually lost her husband. I shouldn't say just. It had been a couple of years prior to when we started working together, but she had just lost her son as well. So she, as you can imagine, had gone through a significant amount of trauma. And what I found in her house was her entire house, from the paperwork through the bereavement process to the 2 rooms in her 3,000 square foot home that she still didn't go into because they were her husband's rooms, to a lot of other messages, were holding her in a state of pain instead of breaking through and being really ready to allow someone to come in. And I've also seen that with even 20-something clients. One comes to mind, a young 20-something who was very ambitious. She had lost her mother, and she had decided that she wasn't ever going to be worthy of love. And surrounding her in her apartment were all of these triggers that were keeping that message to be continued. So part of it is using the environment, just like both Erica and Heather were saying, you have to love yourself. You have to be in an empowered state, whether it be touching yourself, reminding yourself that you're worthy, and giving yourself a state of feeling connected, not just to a deeper part of yourself, that's a major part of it, but even a part of you needs to connect with the outside world. And everybody has a different desire, a different place that they are presently in a relationship, and different patterns that either keep us from experiencing the best in our present relationship or get us to manifest the right relationship. But the space is an interesting cog in the wheel of that process.
You know, Kim, I really agree with you on this, and I'm totally fascinated by what you do because two thoughts popped up into my head. One, I always love when a guy, or I bring a date home back to my house, a date comes back to my house, or someone I've dated, and they're like, oh, and I don't have a very cluttered place because clutter drives me bonkers, but it'll be like, oh, it's a little messy in here, and I'm thinking, ooh, they're already analyzing me by my space, right? They're walking around my space going, this is messy.
I love it.
Messy girl, and I'm thinking to myself, am I a messy girl? Like, but I literally was on a date this weekend where somebody had come back and was just like, I said, is my place clutter? I started to investigate when they made a comment about my space. And, you know, the truth is that I could use a housekeeper because I do work 7 days a week. And, you know, I'm not trying to be messy. I just don't have time. But the men who are coming into my place are going,
Right.
damn, this girl's messy. You know?
Well, I doubt that you're messy, and it sounds like clearly you're not cluttered. But it is interesting when we're dating, we're looking to get an inkling of who this person is. And it is always dynamic to me how much you can see about a person, from the most obvious to what they're reading to what their taste is. But there are a lot of things. You know, some people have a normal tendency to block others, to set up their place in a very aloof manner. That is not in any way conducive to feeling connected. And feeling connected triggers intimacy and empowerment.
The other thing, too, that sorry, Gabby, you want to go? Please.
I was going to say, Kim, you'll love my latest story with my boyfriend. The thing that made me really think he was a great match for me was when I walked into his apartment.
That you what, Gabby?
When I walked into his apartment, and I felt feng shui energy. His apartment is so perfectly feng shuied and clean, and you know, very free, big art pieces, very free of clutter, very feng shui energy in there, which of course he didn't have you around. I have you to do my place. He didn't have you, but it felt like it was my place. I felt immediately more connected to him once I felt that energy from his home.
I love it. That's so great, Gabby. That's wonderful.
Kim, can I also say to something else that you had said, because it also really struck me. You know, when I break up with somebody, especially, I mean, I'm talking someone I've had long-term relationships, 2, 5 years, whatever it is. And one of the first things that I do is get rid of anything and everything that they had ever given me. And And people think that that's a really weird thing to do. When I was younger, I actually would send it back, the stuff, I call it. I would literally send back, the little love tokens, I call them, the handbag or the picture or, the earring or the whatever it was. I used to actually send it back, and then I realized that actually kept me engaged in the energy. So now what I do, and it's not because I don't like the stuff, it's just, but what you were saying, it keeps you energetically, the stuff, locked into this relationship. And so the last time I had a breakup, unfortunately, I just put it on like eBay and donated it to charity, and it wasn't that I didn't like it, but I needed to say goodbye to that stuff just from energy purposes.
Then what do you recommend when someone goes through a breakup with old memorabilia of the partner?
Absolutely. First of all, let's just say, just like no person is the same, no situation is the same, and no house is the same, it is on a case-by-case basis. But typically, Heather, I love what you're saying, because essentially if you go through a painful breakup, or if you go through even a painful time with a friend, sometimes you can trigger depression just by having items around from a period of your life where you were heavily depressed.
Correct.
So same thing with a relationship. If you have items that are surrounding you of that pain, then yeah, that's really an issue. Or even if you've had a wonderful ending to that relationship, but let's say it was the love of your life, and years later you're amazing friends, and it brings back a memory of the fiber of your life, the different points that you connect the dots with that make you who you are, and it's a really wonderful, empowering memory. But let's say you have a giant painting from that ex-boyfriend, and it's in your foyer, and now you're married. What does your husband feel every time he comes in? He feels this giant presence of this past relationship. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a complex layer. It's like peeling off the onion skin for the strategy. It's looking at this, and it's looking at that. It's looking at the feng shui. It's a myriad of things. But I love what you're saying. It's fantastic.
By the way, you made me laugh because I once walked into somebody who I had maybe dated for 6 weeks, and on their flashing screen on their computer where they, people have rotating images of memories and stuff. It was like 3 or 4 ex-girlfriends, in the ear and like different things.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Now what exactly, that's a lot of information to take in as well. Just like he's looking at your apartment, Heather, I hope you're looking at his. And it getting some clues. There's what we say aloud, and then there's our behavior, and then there's the physicalization. So there's a lot to take in a new relationship.
Whenever I'm working with my single guys, I think it's really important as a dating coach that I ask for pictures, and I want to see what their house looks like, because I can't tell you from a personal experience. I have into things with guys if their house is dirty, if there's clutter there, if I dated one guy and he was indecisive about the furniture he wanted in his home, and he's asking another guy friend of his, and just the fact that he couldn't decide and say, I want this piece, I don't want this piece, to me that said a lot about who he was. He wasn't a man who stood on his own 2 feet. And so I think it's crazy important. So anytime I'm working with my guys, I always go, I want to see what your house looks like, or I go to their home and I go, this is not working what you're doing here. You have to do that. Because as a woman, it does. I'm analyzing everything. Everything speaks volumes to me. So if it's not in order, and if it's not the way I want to do life, then I just know it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means we are not a match. Ciao, ciao.
I love it, Erica. And just know, in all fairness, I work with people like that, men and women, all the time. And sometimes if you just dig a little deeper and start to pull things out of them, you can get their best self to come forward. And it's amazing how many patterns I've shifted just by working from that angle. And then you two, you three, all of you really could take the ball and run with it from other angles. So it's all really neat. We all have our different places, and I think that's the coolest.
Okay, well, so Coach, let me ask you. What are your 3 most important attitude strategies or techniques of rockstar dating?
Well, and I must preface this by saying, of course, that situations, character, um, personalities, and Heather reminded me sometimes location can affect these strategies. But to me, number one strategy is to adopt a win-win philosophy. The idea, as I have said on previous shows, that war is optional, conflict is inevitable. Um, However, you can decide early in the relationship that you're going to have a win-win relationship. And part of what makes that possible is the belief that it is possible. Um, because if you defined your conflicts in such a way that somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, ultimately you're going to lose. Because even if you win, um, having an unhappy mate or a frustrated mate makes you a loser. So you have to decide whether or not you want to have a happy and effective relationship or a relationship where somebody has to be right. The second thing I think that is a good strategy is to not allow sarcasm and creative criticism. I think, we've learned, and most of the psychologists agree now, that it is possible to give non-judgmental feedback. I know the way that men look at creative criticism is as criticism, just another word for it. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if women looked at it the same way. We know our children look at it that way. Um, so, just an effective strategy is just to eliminate it, period. It is possible to have a relationship without it. Now, I say that, again, having grown up in New York, where it's part of the character of the city. And third point, I would say, is refuse to play the who had the worst day game. It's something you easily slide into. Um, I know this happened to me when my girlfriend was that we were living together, and she was explaining to me how bad a day that she had. That she worked for 12 hours a day. So I immediately fell into the trap of saying, well, I work 12 hours a day too. I just worked all day. I just worked for 12, 15 hours. I just did it at work. And then she said to me, well, you enjoyed it. And at that moment, I realized, what's the win here? And the win was to walk away from it, because if I continued to argue, I won, I would have demonstrated I had a better day. And that would have made her feel bad. And that would have made me feel bad. However, if I let it go, then, like some battles, it's just there's no advantage in fighting. If there is advantage, it is listening and see if you can change the situation.
It's really interesting. Sorry, Erica, please go ahead.
I was going to say, it's really when we get in those tit for tats, it's just really, at the end of the day, people want to be heard. And it's like when someone comes in, your partner comes in and says, I've had a really crappy day. It's just taking the time and validating that and saying, you know what, I'm really sorry that you've had a rough day. That wasn't fair and you didn't deserve it. And I'm really sorry about that. And I really want you to have a wonderful day tomorrow because you really deserve that because of the person that you are. Do you mind if I share with you my day as well? Because really, at the end of the day, we're all little kids at heart, and it's just I just want to be heard. I just want to be seen. I want to feel known. And so if we could just get to the meat of it, the heart of it, which is just that, I think we would avoid a lot of tit for tats.
I wish I was smart enough and had had that advice before.
Now you do, babe.
Also, I think huge, somebody once said to me a very long time ago, Heather, do you want to be right or do you want to be loved? And I remember when I was a young kid that I'd be like, and the finger would come out, and I would get, and then and this is me in my 20s, and, he's just like, no, it's a very simple question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be loved? Because if you're looking to be right, you're never going to have a successful relationship. If you're looking to be loved, you will. And that gets down to knowing yourself. And the other thing that I wanted to comment on that you talked about that was so smart with the criticism thing, I think, as soon as you start getting into criticism, man to woman, woman to man, partner to partner, whatever is going on, everybody gets put into mommy and kid mode. Mommy and kid mode immediately. As soon as you start, Tommy, what did I tell you about putting on the shoes before you got into everybody just gets reduced to being an infant immediately when you get it. And you're right, even the constructive criticisms. I was sitting at a restaurant once with another couple, and I'm watching this guy say to my girlfriend, oh, stop twirling your hair. Stop twirling your hair. I don't like it when you twirl your hair. And my friend was reduced to like this infant, and I'm watching her do this, and I'm going, I'm going to throw up. Like,
Thank you.
Well, what's going on here? I was like, does anyone want their baba? Anyone?
Not sexy.
Not sexy.
Kids, did you have any other strategies or attitudes or techniques for rockstar dating?
Now, those are my three, but now I get to turn the table. Dr. Love, what are your three technique strategies that you use or that you recommend that help a person to turn their relationship into a rockstar relationship?
Well, I did actually create the Rockstar program recently in the last few months. It's why I wanted to have this episode. So I have put a lot of thought into this, and it's what I help my clients daily to achieve, and as well as myself, because I'm constantly always having to master my own love life. And it's been a 20-year process, and I feel like I finally have gotten some headway in that after a lot of time and focus on it, and it hasn't been easy. I don't think any feat in life that's amazing comes with ease. It comes with focus and intention, mistakes, getting back up, following through again, trying again, and not beating yourself down, and getting back up. It's an eternal process. So to try to narrow it down for this episode's purposes into three, what I wrote as number one, most important as a rockstar dater, is to keep the attraction high at all times. I have programs like the Sexy, Fun, Loving, Joy program that teach you this specifically, because it's a big one for me. If you keep your partner attracted to you, you have a lifelong partner. Kim, who unfortunately is gone, who really is a rock star dater, she has been dating a rock star for 12 years now, and so I'm sure that she gets this one very well. It is absolutely important to keep our partners attracted to us more so than anybody else. In 2015, everyone that's walking around us looks great. We can all afford good hairdressers these days. Possible yoga. People are eating better than ever. We shop at Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. There's a lot of competition out there. So attraction is absolutely number one for me. Number two, keeping and catering to your sexual strategies well aligned with their sexual strategies is what I put is very important. And what I mean by that, this includes learning yours and your partner's sexy love talk that I mentioned before, the levels 1, 2, and 3, catering to it, making your partner happy. If it absolutely doesn't work for you, if you're hot and coy and you really can't go into level 1 of hot and dirty, then get a partner that's hot and coy or hot and sexy, level 2 or level 3, and don't try to fit a diamond into a circle. In the dating, since this is Rockstar Dating, this is great and easy for us because we can edit our dates accordingly. And we can axe them out or keep them in the early stages before love happens. I hate to sound so cold about it, but it's a little bit harder when we're talking about rockstar marriage and you find out that your partners are completely different personality types or have completely different sexual strategies. That becomes a little bit harder work. I'm not saying it can't be done, but when we're busy learning how to be rockstar daters, we have a lot more freedom in actually editing our choices accordingly. And we should actually take that time to do so. The programs that I have that teach men and women about their sexual strategies are my Alpha Love program and my Lady Love program. Number 3 that I wrote that's pivotal is mastering your emotional and your love intelligence. The fact that all of us are engaged in the show or watching the show tells me that we are actively mastering our emotional or our love intelligence, or we wouldn't be interested in this information. It is absolutely pivotal to be a rock star dater or to be in a rock star marriage, that you master your own emotional and your love intelligence. I'm here to tell you that it is possible. I'm almost an alumni of this degree myself after 20 years of focusing on mastering my emotions and my output of my own love life. It has not come easy, but I got it down. And so it can happen. And it should be a goal for all of us at all times. And we will never be perfect at it. We will have our bad days, and we will fail. And then we have to get back up and go back at it. Kim, like I mentioned while you were gone there for a moment, Kim, about you being a rock star dater. You have been dating a real rock star for 12 years. So you have mastered some of these that I'm talking about as well.
And by the way, thank you. And I have not mastered keeping an internet stream steady. So thank you. And I'm dying to hear what all of you have said while in my absence. But thank you. I'm so happy to see all of your beautiful faces. You too, Koosh, included.
We missed you. I don't think any of us have mastered the internet quite yet. No.
This is the excitement of live television.
Yes.
Even the major networks haven't mastered it yet.
Oh my gosh.
But Kim, the question I was asking, because I know the audience can't wait to hear the answer when you were disconnected, was what is your position on the man's position that he needs a man cave, whether he moves into your place or you move into his?
Oh my goodness, Cooch. I am a big supporter of the man cave, but not just the man cave, the woman cave too. My philosophy is you need to, in a relationship, if you are two people living in a home, you need a place where you can be your full identity separate from the relationship, whether it's the stuff that your partner loves about you or just doesn't get about you. It doesn't matter. This is a place for you to shine. If you can do it in a full room, amazing. If you don't have a full room to do it in, then do it on your desk. Do it in a closet that you open up and feel like, oh my gosh, here is all of me. In a drawer, wherever you can, you need to feel like you have a full expression of all the things that you love about yourself, regardless of anybody else in the world. And then you also need to have those identifiable things come together in the main living area as well. So you need to always work that muscle of who you are as an individual and who you are in a relationship. They're two things that can be integrated, but they're two really important components to think about, not just strengthening the relationship, but strengthening yourself. And a man cave, let's just face it, boys and men need to be in their little cave. They need to be on their own. and really allow themselves to feel like the master of that. What, Gabby?
I have to have my own fem cave too. I need a lot of my own personal and alone time. I'm one of those women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you threw that in too, that there are a lot of women that need that.
Yeah. We all human beings need that. It's important.
I need my own space so I can pretend like I sing like Celine Dion. I'm like, I need everyone out of the room. This is Celine Dion moment. Buzz off.
I must have same thing. I need my same space because I like to write, and I can't tell you how many times when I've been dating. Oh, well, we can bring our computers together and we can each do it. And it was like, no. My time.
Ladies, I want to ask everyone before we sign off, any of your final, most important thoughts on rockstar dating?
I'll say this. When you lead from a place of love, as a single person, before you even meet anyone, I'm talking about love with yourself, love with your family. When you are leading from a place of love, the possibilities in your dating life are endless. I cannot say that strongly enough, but you gotta lead from a posture of love. When you do that, everything literally changes for you.
Yeah.
I agree. And really think about what you're telling yourself in your place. It's a feng shui cliche and the most basic component of manifesting a relationship in terms of feng shui, but it's true. Do you have pictures of single women, of single people, of being alone throughout your house? Or do you have a feeling and a visual of togetherness? It's a simple thing, and I understand it. It's a superficial first step. But what are you surrounding yourself with, and what are you telling yourself to believe? Think about what you have in your home, and think about what it's telling you. Does it correlate to who you are today in a way that makes you feel empowered, or does it make you feel overwhelmed? One way empowers you to be the person that you want to be, to lead with the love, to bring in a partner, and the other way leaves you in a place of being overwhelmed and stressed that more and more disconnects you from yourself, which puts you at a disadvantage in any relationship that you want to build in your life.
And I think, too, with creating a rock star sex life, a final point I'd want to make on that would be, again, remember to ask questions. You know, questions are really important. No one wants to play guessing games. No one needs to be a psychic. And, you know, be flirty and playful with those questions. You know, integrated into, like Gabby was saying, she has her sex talk program. You can integrate those questions as you're fooling around and getting to know each other's bodies and minds and fantasies right into, you know, the programs and the classifications that Gabby has designed for her matchmaking and her dating coaching, and it just fits right in. And, you know, remember, be willing to explore, right? Get out of your comfort zone. You can always go back to what you know. It's not going anywhere. So don't be afraid to explore.
Okay. Kidge, are you with us?
Yes, my screen just froze for a second. We have a few more minutes. I have a question that all this sex talk has brought to my attention. And I get a chance to ask girls or ladies. What, in terms of rock star dating, what effect or do you think men having sex on the first date has on rock star dating?
It happens.
Yes.
It depends on the man and the come to, doesn't it? I mean, it's really about the intention. You can feel when someone is with you as a conquest or with you because it's the heat of the moment and you both are just feeling it at that moment. There's such a big difference.
I have had several friends who had sex on the first date, and they're very, very happy and married and in long-term relationships with the guy or the girl that they had sex with on the first date. And I've definitely been the flip of that too, where you've had long-term relationships where it's just like, all right, this is totally just sex. And both people tend to know it. We're all grown adults. This isn't high school. This isn't college. This isn't people getting together and be like, I can't believe he or she banged me on the first date. You know, we're all adults now, right? So we get to make big adult decisions, and there's nobody weighing on top of us telling us what's right or what's wrong. But I think, people tend to intuitively know what's going to happen in that moment. Like there's just a sense of, this is a one-off, or man, oh my God, this is the love of my life. I can't keep my hands off of her or him. But there's nothing wrong with having sex on the first date. Be an adult, make an adult decision, and have a good time. Sex is actually fun.
Yeah, and I want to add, it is 2015. And right now I have a lot of clients of mine asking me about the book The Rules, or Why Men Marry Bitches, or Why Men Love Bitches. And most of my strategies in all of this that are in my programs defy a lot of those books. And I realized why. I mean, it is 2015. It's not the 70s. It's not the 80s. It's not the 90s. Most of those rule books and Why Men Love Bitches and Marry Bitches and all that were written in the 1990s. They helped me then when I was in my 20s. I'm going to be 40 years old this year. But to me, they're quite outdated. And so there's a lot of valuable information on them, but we have to remember not to live our lives by a book that was written almost 20 years ago now at this point. And so it's very important to know that sometimes it happens. I usually recommend when it comes to the sex to leave a little mystery in there, not go about it so quick. But, for example, in my last relationship, I had sex on night one. We laugh about it, we make fun of it all the time, and and I believe he is the love of my life, the one that I have been really waiting for. And so it happens, and it's okay if it does happen, because when that sexual chemistry is so strong between two people, sometimes it makes the man feel really, really good that you also lost yourself in that moment where you couldn't be with them. And for some men, it's actually appeasing and fulfilling and very sexy to them. So every man is different and every woman is different. But if it does happen, it's okay. We're in 2015. We don't need to be going by rules. Back in the 1800s, we had chastity belts. We're way past that. And the sex on the first date can work. Like Heather, I also have had a lot of clients get married who had it on the first date. I have a lot of friends who are in healthy relationships who had it on the first date. So it's actually okay, finally, for us to say that in 2015.
I'll say this. I have a private members group, and it's just for my single men, and we talk about sex a lot in there. And I think the biggest thing, what I talk to my guys about this is if you are going to go there and if you are going to have sex with a woman on the first date, make sure that you really take the time to value her. Like, don't be an asshole about it. Don't, not text message her the next day, or not, even if it's not going anywhere, validate her and treat her as a person and show her some respect. Because whether, I don't buy into this, oh, it's just sex. No, that's a very important part of who you are. And if you share that with someone, the least you can do is validate them the next day and say, thank you so much for last night. It was a beautiful evening. Something like that. But just don't disappear. Don't ghost on her. That is so not cool, and I so do not condone that whatsoever. So if you're going to go there, be a man about it. Send her a text the next day. Call her the next day. Take her to breakfast. But don't just disappear on her. It's so tacky. There's no class in that whatsoever.
Or dive full into a relationship with her super fast, like is happening to me right now. That's a good option too. But I wish there were more dating coaches for men like you, Erica. What you're teaching them is very powerful.
I have a question for you, Gabby, and maybe you've experienced this in your world with your clients. I will say this though about sleeping with somebody on the first date. I've personally found, and we didn't get into this when we were talking about getting to know yourself, but one of the things that I think makes rock star sex is not just like good physical chemistry with somebody, but what I think makes like really great rock star sex, like the difference between, you know, being a Freddie Mercury or just the lead singer of a band, is the sense of intimacy and vulnerability. And I have often found that if you do wind up sleeping with someone on the first date because the oxytocin and the hormones and alcohol or whatever else has gotten so praised, I do find that you wind up taking a few back steps to generate the intimacy and the vulnerability that, you know, that it's more of a cha-cha if you go in strong physically. I do feel like sometimes you have to get back to the first act emotionally or intimately. And do you ever find that?
Well, I don't recommend it regularly, but I definitely I'm good at recreating that. So it's a fine line that I don't normally recommend. But yes, I see what you mean, that you can kind of move too fast. But I also edit my choices accordingly. I don't just jump in bed with any guy who I have chemistry with in the first night. By this time, I have already analyzed him. We had spoken for over a week. And I had already psychoanalyzed him in all my tests and in all my everything, and saw and seen signs in him that he actually was ready for a real deep and long-term serious relationship. I never in a million years would have done it if I hadn't already put all of those together.
Let me give you my final advice as we're nearing the end of the show. I would say, let me give my advice. Well, I think it applies to both males and females, and that is not to fall for the trick question. And what I call a trick question is any question that ultimately results in sharing past intimate experience with other partners or comparing yourself or your mate to other partners. I think that's very critical in maintaining a rock star relationship.
Thank you. And I just want to add that you can all register for my new bi-weekly love webinars on all of these exact specific topics that we talked about. And I will provide you PDFs and write-ups specifically teaching all of these tactics and strategies that I've learned through life experience, through clients, also from a Master's of Arts in Marriage and Family Counseling and a Master's of Science in Industrial Organizational Psychology. And I'm still diving into research at the doctorate level. And most importantly, everything my femme and my men clients have taught me and continue to teach me daily as we successfully conquer through their love lives. My new bi-weekly webinars give you all the access you need to master all areas of your own love life. So tonight, let's go ahead and thank our guest stars. Erica Angelo, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Heather Dawn, always lovely to see you.
Always happy to be here.
And Kim Caldwell, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'd like to thank my co-host and director, Coote, and all of you for joining us for another episode of the Dr. Love Show. All previous episodes are available at GabiLove.com. And let's look forward to our next episode, Rockstar Marriage, with real rock star Peter Kelly and Rabbi Stephen Bars. Until then, in love always.